I'm really, really excited to be in this garden with you. This is one that I've seen from a distance all my years in Concord and wondered what it was like back here. And now here we are together. I've passed it a lot, and you may too. It's on a very busy intersection, as many old houses are. And this house is old, early 18th century. The owners had been in a 17th century house, that's 1600s before this, and loved old houses. But I think what they were most taken with is what is capturing me today too. And that is the great openness. I mean, this site itself is so very open. It is grounded, punctuated by two huge silver maples, but otherwise a very open space. And then so unusually for Concord that has so many trees, so many deciduous trees. On every side is pasture, field, meadow. It's a really unusual look for Concord today, very much more like what it would have looked like in the 18th and 19th centuries, and maybe up to 1910, 1920, but then things changed. So it gives us a look across time and into this wonderful space. I can't wait to show you more of it. So there are a few things we'll really want to keep an eye out for in this garden. Some very special features. First, overall, there is a lot of beauty here, but it is a subtle, quiet beauty. And looking at how the owner achieved that, I think is really, really special. And there also is, I think along those same lines, the hardscape here is just beautiful. It blends so well with the environment. Take a look at what's underfoot and how natural it all seems in this older space. And lastly, the owner talked with me about fragrance and how important that is to her in the garden. And that is achieved often through shrubs that bloom so much, and especially in the spring where you have 1 week after the next them rolling along with their blooms. So she's done that quite artfully, and also found ways it's harder to find fragrance in the middle of the summer, and there's some great plants she's found to do that. So let's go take a look. So we're here to look at the garden, but this is also a really special house. I mean, it was built in 1737, which for Concord is very early, and they have so sensitively restored it. It was kind of a shambles when they moved here 26 years ago. Certainly the garden was. They had 3 young children, and there was not even a piece of grass here, so that was their first project. They made a little play space for the children. But it was worth it for them to be here. And the owner said when she first walked onto the property, over all the brambles, she looked across at the broad field. She saw these gorgeous trees. It was an old house, and it was just the spot for them. So, but the things they've done to keep that spirit, to keep that magic that they felt, are really, really wonderful. I mean, even look at this stone that they found to be the landing to go up into the house. Now this is an addition, but they really kept the scale that was in the old house. And I love these intimate spaces where you can really reach up and touch everything. And it certainly is right for the period. And then underfoot, there's this wonderful flagstone terrace here. You know, and over time, the moss grows up between the stones and it really nestles in. And then we move to fieldstone over here. I mean, I know I'm getting carried away about what's underfoot, but I think it's really sending us messages about what the spaces are. This being a place to settle in a bit more. And that's why they put the bench here. So nice outside the door. But look at what they've allowed to have happen to it. It has plants on it too. So we have plants everywhere to look at today. This wonderful lichen and this color next to the wood. I just love that. And then the classic kind of New England dooryard red geranium. That's a wonderful reference to the age of the house too, the sort of old New England references. Wonderful plants everywhere too. Gentle plants like these lamb's ear. I mean, you just want to touch them. And and this like soft celadon. There's this very subtle beauty everywhere, and that adds to that. And we were talking about fragrance. This is a Korean spice viburnum that bloomed a couple weeks ago, and boy, does that smell good. But also has this beautiful structure in this corner. Such a nice choice. And then the brightness of the yellow iris there. It's lovely to bring some light into this a little bit shadier area. Now it is so shady because they have these crab apples right over here. And these were one of the first things that they did as well. As I said, we're on a busy corner, and as almost all old houses are. So right away they planted these 4 crabapple to shield themselves from this site that is so close to the road. And they're doing a great job, and they have taken on, as they've grown, this lovely old kind of gnarly form. They feel like they've been here forever. And so, you know, even just looking at the small garden patch in the front, so intimate. We have some salvia, some sage right here, more lamb's ear. Oh, this is an interesting plant. So this isn't old at all. It's a new introduction. It's a lilac called bloomerang. And the idea is that it reblooms. It blooms well in the spring. I've heard there are mixed reports about how well it reblooms in the late summer, fall, but you know, worth a try, and people are interested in it right now. So, so I like to show that. It has a sweet little leaf too. So again, purples in this garden, purples and greens, so subtle. Lavender and Caryopteris, that's bluebeard. So that'll grow quite big, and it'll introduce a blue in the fall. That's an unusual fall color. And it's also nice that it's really a small shrub, so that gives some substance to the garden. That's a neat trick too. This repetition of the lamb's ear everywhere we go, it's so soft. And you know, this wonderful sweet woodruff, gallium, and then over here we have this just like, whew, this great statement of deutzia. So I just love it when you can have, you know, some interest, some variation, and then one big statement like this. And isn't it wonderful? I've been here over the last couple of weeks, and it's been blooming the whole time. So I'm really happy to see after all that rain that it has held this bloom. And so romantic, so draping, so soft. So I feel like it also really fits in with the tone of this garden. Well, let's take a look at these peonies. What a beautiful color. You know, they're just about to pop. And I love this pale pink. A lot of pastels in this garden. I think that's pastels, cooler colors. That's part of what gives it this vibe, this sort of really lovely, understated vibe. Pretty again next to this repetition of the lamb's ear and the deutzia, which ties the different sections together. Again, I can't help but talk about the hardscape. We have a lovely wall right here that they put in. They were, you know, sometimes it's a functional thing. They were having trouble with grading and drainage, and built this wall to tackle that. And but they did a lovely job finding some stonework that looks to me really integrated, really as if it has been here forever. And of course, over time, it will develop that look even more. I want to pause and talk about natives a bit so that you'll know when I reference that what I mean. I want to bring it up, especially this year too, as it's just becoming such a big topic of conversation in the garden world. It's something that we're all, in fact, all of the gardens on the tour are experimenting with that in one way or another, and I am in my own garden. So a native plant is a plant that has evolved in the region where we are. So mostly that's New England natives, plants that have always been in New England. Because the climate's changed, though, we do now have insects and birds from really right along the eastern seaboard, mid-Atlantic and right down to the Carolinas. having plants like this here, all of our insects and birds are better adapted to using them for habitat and food. For instance, an oak here, a native oak, can support 500 different types of caterpillars. A ginkgo from Asia supports 5. So if you think about like a nest of chickadees, a brood of chickadees needs 6,000 caterpillars to grow to size. We really need plants. It doesn't have to be all the plants around us, but we really need to think about plants that will support that kind of thing. Of course, it does more. I really think about the aesthetic so much, and it does more than that. Plants that are native will be better adapted to our soils and our conditions. They'll, if they're sited properly, they'll use less fertilizer and water. But also using natives, and I'm finding this more and more as I experiment with it, it helps develop a sense of place. These are plants that belong here, that roll better into our woodlands and fields. Just the look of them is better suited to where we are. So I still have my Englishy things in the garden, which, by the way, English gardens are generally not using English natives. All of those things were imported many of them from the empire. They came from all over the world. But now when I have a choice to make about a new plant, I'm always thinking, is there a native that can do that job? And if I'm thinking, how do I want to change this piece of garden? I'm often thinking, natives is where we're headed, out of a sense of responsibility, but also I think for fun and just the way things are evolving in gardens. So that's what I think about. And I will mention natives as we go along through the gardens. So again, here's a wonderful one. This is Fothergilla. It has this great earlier spring bloom. Oh, I should mention this calycanthus. It's rarer to get bloom and real fragrance in the summer. And calycanthus will do that. This is a nice big sort of magnolia-like bloom, very heady scent. So wonderful. It doesn't have a beautiful shiny leaf too. So we'll go past the Fothergilla. There's a lot of hydrangea behind it. This is a paper bark maple. Really handsome color. I love that reddish color. And when we go over to look at the chickens, you'll see that the bark quite well matches that rooster. It also matches the wonderful dog that lives here. Waldo has that same color. And I know that wasn't on purpose, but I find it delightful that they have that combination. All right, so there's a lot to see in this garden. Here we are in an apple orchard that they planted starting 20 years ago. They've been here 26 years, so really had time to do things like this. Started with 3 hybrids, but all the rest are heritage trees. And they have an apple cider press now, a small press. So this grove provides, I think they said 20 gallons of cider for them. And I find it just so magical to walk through this space. Let's take a look and see if there are any apples coming along. They're different on different trees, so I see they're different types. Here are some coming along. This velvety leaf. Wonderful apples, beautifully pruned. A lot of work in something like this, but I can see they wouldn't be doing this if this wasn't joyful work for them. Ooh, look at this. That is a lot of apples. That's going to be a heavy branch. So just great to move through this space. Hear all the birds. Look out on these gorgeous pasture. The field over there, a lot of growth of all sorts. Wonderful fence with lichen on it. And then here's one of these silver maples. I think this one really anchors this corner of the property so beautifully. And it has, you see how it's lived. You see where it's scarred, or this wonderful way the bark peels off. This just feels so powerful, the way it comes out, and it's lifted the bark off to make that move. And these trees are huge. So the one that they had to take down was 18 feet around. And it was a big thing to the family. And I understand that. We have big trees too. The owner told me she wasn't sure how she was going to be able to live here anymore without the tree. So, you know, it was the shade over her house. It was the shade over a special garden that she had. And now 2 years later, it has opened up some opportunity. They have a beautiful silver linden there. It's opened up a possibility for a parterre garden that I'll show you. But these trees are really, really meaningful for us. And I just wanted to pause at this one. Let's have a glimpse at the chickens over here. They're so fun. It's great also to have life in the garden like this. And when their 3 children were here, they had 20 hens. So more people to eat the eggs, and the children even sold some of the eggs. And now that they're just the 2 of them, what they have is 2 hens and a rooster. The rooster kind of by mistake, because chicks are shipped the day after they're born, and they're sexed at that point, and I guess they just couldn't tell. So, but he's handsome. He's handsome even if he doesn't provide eggs. So there they go, away from us. These hens lay colored eggs, so you always know which hen provided your egg. You can tell the difference, and they're beautiful. They're beautiful pastel colors, which I think is just this theme throughout. I don't know if that's conscious, but it's probably not. But I do love how this sort of soft pastel, understated look carries through everything, even the eggs that the chickens provide. We're passing by another one of these silver maples, so I just have to go over and touch it and look at this amazing bark, this amazing lichen colored bark that's here. Look up at it. I think this was the tree that the owner and I were standing under when she said, just when you're in the garden, look up and think about all the life up above, but then also look down, or just think about what is going on below your feet. I mean, this soil is full of microorganisms. It is teeming with life, and so important to us. So, you know, they do as little as they can to disturb the soil. You really want to let it do its thing. And, you know, of course, that reminds me, this bit of transcendentalist in me, when I think about looking up and looking down. You know, Henry Thoreau said, heaven is not just over our heads, but under our feet. And so that is sort of literally like this, but of course it's why I'm standing here in the garden talking to you, because that also means that for me, you know, this is paradise, this is heaven, this is where I find the divine. So hopefully you can feel a little bit that joy and life around the garden too. So let's pass on down this way. Ooh, we're getting a closer look at this Stewardia. Really lovely plant, really beautiful, these pearly shapes that are getting ready to bloom. And let's come down into this wonderful space, this new space to them, because out there where the silver linden is standing, that was a little further out, was where that silver maple was, that silver maple with that 18-foot circumference. So when that came down, it did enable this. It enabled this wonderful sunny spot, what I guess I would call a parterre garden, right here outside their kitchen area. And isn't it a great design? I mean, again, the hardscape that they have here is just so interesting. It's again it's this wonderful brick pattern, that flagstone in the middle, quite formal, but then there's a looseness to the choice in plant material. So it doesn't take on too much of a French parterre look. It really is, it's full of herbs. It's full of this sage and nasturtium and this beautiful rose, and there's an echinacea there right next to a parsley and a thyme. Like, I love that mix of herbs and flowers. And the owner said, this is a new garden. I think she planted this last summer. So her aim is also to work with verticality, which would be unusual in a parterre garden like this. You know, get some plants that will really come up and give some height, you know, like this sort of thing. Yeah, she even has a little like Miss Kim lilac right here. It's a great variety, lavender. So a variety, but she's tied it all together really carefully through palette. And we are really looking at purples, not just purples, but soft purples and greens here. So, and then a great variety of textures. So really, really thoughtfully designed. So this silver linden, the owner told me, I haven't lived with a linden, so I was curious, has these great, these leaves will flap and flutter in the breeze, showing their silvery underside. And this is also a tree that has a summer bloom, so a summer scent. And that's lovely to have close to the house too, where you can really, really take it in. And so let's walk along here. Again, like this huge stone right here, it didn't just happen. And isn't it, I mean, to me, it's just wonderful thinking about what a nice place to sit and how appropriate it is. This huge field stone, you know, seems just right with a farming house like this. And, but I also, of course, I always think of, oh, how did they do it? So I love that aspect too. This is quite an undertaking to get something like this in here. Wonderful hostas, a Tardiva hydrangea. I'm interested, I have one of those too, paniculata, and they prune it really hard. I don't prune mine that hard. And look at how it loves that. I mean, so many things love to be pruned quite aggressively, and that one certainly does. Let's come through here and look at this great family space. I mean, what came first here was the table. They really, really wanted a big square table for their bigger family. So they designed the terrace to match the table. And again, like great restraint around here. Look at this, it's beautifully pruned, a very healthy boxwood. And under it, they just have geranium mycorrhizome. That's a great geranium to have your eye on. It's a native and really pretty, really pretty. Works really well, spreads really well, works well as a ground cover. It spreads, it's that healthy, spreads that well. You know, another ditsia, so there's repetition from the front of the house. And hydrangea all along here, and lily of the valley, and, you know, then this is such a beautiful shape. And then look at the volunteer, look at this Japanese painted fern that just found a little niche in there to put itself. Very, very sweet, very special, and really kind of highlights this wonderful stone too. All Japanese painted fern along here. Yeah, so they love to sit right here with their friends and look out across the pasture and look at birds. They're very involved with birds, so it's a great view for birds, and you might see that they have their feeder right there so that they can see some things closer up. The bird bath also is so lovely down here. And again, when they've hit a shadier spot like this, they've brought in something that's light and bright. Again, this lamb's ear right here. I don't often see primroses in the garden. And these, you know, though they've gone by, here in the shade, sort of shade where they won't be burned out by the sun too fast, that's making a beautiful leaf. And this is a plant I'd like to point out. This is Schlieffenbachii azalea. I want to show you because I think it has such a gorgeous leaf. And, you know, I'm sure it has a beautiful bloom, but bloom goes by so fast on so many plants. So it really is always the foliage that I am looking for.
and working into the design. So this is also meaningful to the owner. Her grandmother really loved this type of azalea. So this isn't her grandmother's, but there were lots of these around, and that's the reason it's repeated right here. Just a wonderful, this looks actually like it's a dogwood. It looks like it might be the old Florida style. Since it's yeah, I think so. So let's go across to yet another beautiful garden space. This one was also, I think this was also started as a birthday present, one or another of them. They both love their gardens. So, and it's anchored by this magnificent Japanese maple. I mean, pruned beautifully. I love to look at the interior. It's just that vase shape and so sculptural, and the branches winding in and out of each other. And then the color is so luscious. I don't know if you can see this like hot pink and chartreuse on these seed pods. And you know, the hot pink is repeated on the stems and the chartreuse on the leaves. Wow, what nature does in terms of color combinations. I mean, I think that is just stunning. So definitely something to feature right here. Let's walk around this garden a little bit in this direction, and because I want to show you again some natives. This European ginger, of course not, but so shiny, so delicious, so cool looking. It's a great garden plant. This Aqualigia canadiensis columbine, canadiensis in North America, is a great plant. Self-seeds really well, spreads really well. I love this sort of laciness. It just belongs. It's one of these things that just belongs here. And it's backed up by, there are a number, actually it's a whole circle of Fothergilla, another native plant with this, this great leaf, this great branching habit, beautiful white flower. So very special. I'm a fan of Lady's Mantle, and that's down there. And whoa, again, we're out to this wonderful meadow. And go around here. And this is a great big clethra. I'm pretty sure, I think these were last year's blooms. So another native plant that's got some real scale to it. Beautiful, beautiful leaf. So let's weave our way through this. Wow, and I just love seeing this time of year these huge rhubarb leaves and thinking of all the deliciousness in there underneath. So they freeze their rhubarb, but they also infuse their gin and vodka with it. So it's that really tangy, lemony flavor. So that sounds delicious. What a great idea. I hadn't thought of that. This is a magnolia that they got when the Arnold Arboretum used to have plant sales. It also has this beautiful habit. I think they're wishing that it wasn't growing quite so big next to their vegetable garden, but that's the way things go in the garden. Another rhubarb back there, chives, peony, gorgeous, gorgeous bearded iris, and repetition. I mean, it all looks so natural here, but it's all so thoughtful and considered. You have the same purple and green palette that we've seen everywhere. And it's a repetition of the same plants. It's chives, 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 and rhubarb, rhubarb, rhubarb. I mean, they're even using this rule of 3, and it just looks like it just happened, but it didn't just happen. It's very, very thoughtful. I mean, beautiful, beautiful garden gate, and let's go in and discover what's in here. It's a lot of beauty, but it's also a lot of food and very bountiful. And this was because they do love growing so much. This is also one of the first things they did after they put in that little bit of lawn for the children. So these raspberries were here. What was here from the beginning were raspberries, asparagus, and then some peonies that we'll see out front. So, and these were here. So they sited the garden right around where they were originally. So it's always a treat to have raspberries like that. Now here's something I really want to show you. I'm going to get on the other side so that you can really see. because they have asparagus. And asparagus is a plant, so there's a lot of asparagus in Concord, and has been. It's an important plant to Concord. So asparagus loves sandy soil, and that is what we have almost everywhere in Concord. So it's well suited to that. And asparagus and strawberries have been an important crop here too. Again, strawberries are also well suited to sandy soil. They're both perishable. So what happened when the trains came in, 19th century, all of a sudden it wasn't that valuable to grow grains in Concord, things that they could be moved down from less costly land and further out in New England. And Concord needed to develop something that could be shipped into Boston on the train, but that was needed to be eaten that very next day, that couldn't come from those outer reaches of New England. So asparagus and strawberries both fall into that category, and that's why we have so many of them still. So they grow up like this, and they grow very fast. When they're growing, the owner harvests them both morning and evening. And then, you see they've had dinners and dinners. These are coming to the end of the season, but they have so much asparagus when it's happening. And then she lets some of them very quickly. This is sort of like a fiddlehead fern. It's just in the moment where it's about to burst. And when it does, it very quickly goes to this. And it's important to let some of them develop these fronds, because that's what feeds the plant. That photosynthesis, that's what brings the sugars down into the plant so that it'll be ready to go next spring. But they're so delightful to see springing up. There's a wonderful blueberry over there. There are blueberries on both sides of this fence. And I know they love to have them on their breakfast cereal. They say, birds really will go for blueberries so fast. So they also, I would say they mainly have them for the birds, which I think is a good attitude with blueberries, because, nets and all that get to be such a struggle. But enough for them to really enjoy. And then if they want to make a big pie or a big lot of jam, they go somewhere else to pick. So, but aren't they pretty? This time of year when they're unripe, I think this green, rosy green color, next to the rosy green of the leaf, that is Mother Nature again. It's just extraordinary. So, peeking over the garden fence, you can see they've got a lot of mint and all blueberries along here. So I'm sure they can get quite a lot of wonderful aster down there. So it's fun to see at this time of year what will come along in September, October. A long season of beauty in this garden. I love this stone right in the middle, again, underfoot. It's so fun to walk along this. It's a very fragrant hay that they've got down here of course it's functional to keep the weeds down, but to me it's also beautiful. It smells so good, and that no tomato cages here. These are just wonderful plant supports, I guess. In France they call them tuteurs, to train your tomatoes up, to train your beans up. Leeks, onions, squash. Look at that decorative edge that they have for their squash. Those are just beautiful. And I don't think I've ever seen garden cloches quite as elegant as these. These look very French to me. I don't know where they came from, but to have multiples of them, hopping along like that, I just love that kind of detail in a garden, and I hope you get a look. And we'll walk along this wonderful fieldstone path again to another really wonderful plant. I find it harder to identify this time of year, but this is a huge winterberry, Ilex verticulata, and huge. So I want to show you this grouping. So there are several of these, and then over here there are several red twig dogwood. And so I want you to think about this house, this lovely old 1734 farmhouse in the winter with snow reaching way out in all these fields. And then you have this punctuation of this huge winterberry covered with red berries and next to the wonderful red twig dogwood. It would just feel like it was aflame amid all that snow. A wonderful choice. And the advantage of being in a place a long time like this is that you get these magnificent specimens too. So yeah, very, very subtle in the summer, but something special, really special in the winter. Yep, coming past, I think, a cherry. I mean, this is more of that winterberry, so coming right around the original entrance. I love, again, this flags, this fieldstone terrace that they've planted out here. All stone, all, in old houses, like 18th century houses like this one. They didn't have base plantings. They just had these wonderful clean sills. And it's a look that I just love and does help orient you into the period of this house without too many shrubs here and there. So they have interplanted all of these stones with this beautiful thyme. Again, this garden is so fragrant. It's a heady feeling to have all of your senses just emerged in the space if you take the time to smell it. So do, and listen to the birds that are around us, and touch the texture of it, and then we'll also note. So this is a wonderful sweet bay magnolia. I think I'd mentioned it before. It works as a native in this area. It also, you can see it budding. So it will these will turn into, again, you know what magnolia blossoms look like, big, but super scented. If you're in the area of a sweet bay magnolia in the summer, you know it. So again, the way she works with scent through all of this, a lot of subtle things going on here, but then some big punches of wonderfulness. And this is just a very handsome type of boxwood that is bred to go wide and low like this, and just seems gorgeous as we're heading down into the perennial bed that I've seen, from a distance from the road, always longed to take a look at. So here we are to do it, both of us, all of us. So these peonies, so this is what was here originally when they arrived. And they didn't know it. They didn't come this time of year. So this was a great surprise to find. And this speaks to, peonies are also, like lilac, I think this wonderful plant that, though it's not native, it does situate you in New England. There are so many peonies, and part of that reason is that they're a very long-lived plant. Once they're established, they really hang around. So I know a lot of people who have their grandmother's peonies, or peonies that were there when they moved into their house 40 years ago, that kind of thing. And I love that feeling of something just loving it and hanging on. And these singles, it's such a beautiful type with those great yellow centers. I love also a pairing like that. So much doesn't seem conscious, but I think it is conscious in this garden. But looking at that wonderful yellow of the iris and how that ties right into this yellow, beautiful yellow center. I mean, I even see a little relationship between the pinky color here and some of the subtlety in this pinkish brown and purple veining here. Beautiful pairing. And also the mix of textures. I mean, that blade shape of the iris foliage is going to stay there through the summer and make a statement that is quite different from this peony foliage that's quite different from that perennial candy tuft right there, and the echinacea beyond. So thinking about your greens, the variation in color of your greens, the variation in texture, what they'll look like without the flower, I think that's where the choices really reside. It's super to find one spot here where things are so subtle in many places, where it's just so exuberant. And certainly plan and repetition. I mean, it's a great dance that these white peonies do down the garden. It's a great dance that's going on with this repetition of the lamb's ear through the garden. I mean, when I start to sort of take it apart, the spacing between them, the multiples of 3, 5, 7, there's a lot of rules in this yet seemingly maybe sort of unruly and loose garden. So that is special. Aren't these foxglove amazing? I just love them. And they also are dotted through the garden and make this different shape. You have this round shape here, and then to have some spires through the garden, some softness, and then some points and other points on this. And this is a gas plant. This is, you don't see a lot of gas plants these days. And I think it's really fun to see, just to see what a gas plant looks like even, because you'll see, well, there are others on this tour, this series of tours, but only a couple. So it was a classic early 20th century, I'd say, through the, yeah. And gosh, I do see delphinium are so magnificent, and they are what, once the foxglove's spikes start to fade, well, I think they may even be here concurrently, but we have some wonderful delphinium coming along. There's a great one below the poppies right there, and it'll come up and just be this strong spire. I mean, poppies, those red poppies, that is just the sign of this time of year. And they almost knock your eyes out in a wonderful way. I love seeing them. I love seeing them amid all these purple blues. This is complementary color, that red orange. They're just stunning. And the form of the flower bud is so unusual and special and gorgeous. So more iris along here, a beautiful different type of foxglove. I mean, Nepeta dotted everywhere. I think again, a tie into the overall look in the garden, these softer greens, these blue purples that are everywhere in their softness. And we're making our way under these wonderful crab apples and capping it off with a big stand of gentle lamb's ear here, and much more lamb's ear along this garden bed, and peonies and a different type of iris, and back to this gorgeous stone wall. I mean, just look at where we are right now. Looking back across that meadow, you can see the split rail fence. You can see the deutzia. You can see the chive blossoms that are everywhere. It's just breathtaking to me. I am so happy that I finally got a look at this garden, and I'm thrilled that we got to do it together. So I hope that this brings some joy to your day the way it has to mine, and I'll see you soon.